All right, all right, all right. Thanks for tuning in today to All Things Division 3 Soccer with Simple Coach and Jackie. That there is Jackie, and I am Simple Coach. So today I get to kick off in great stellar fashion a new series show that I'd been thinking about for quite a while, and it just so happens that the way soccer works, I was connected to somebody. But this series is called The Players Locker, where I get to interview outstanding student athletes in Division 3 soccer. So, I'd mentioned before that soccer is an interesting way of connecting people. And once you've been involved in the game, you know somebody who knows somebody who coached somebody. And earlier in the year, I had spoken with Coach Jamie Gunderson of Christopher Newport University, and we were talking about some of her players. We were talking about their goalkeeper, and who I think is an outstanding goalkeeper in her own right, and that I'd be really interested in having a conversation with her. So short end of it is that we finally got around to doing that, and so she is the first player to be interviewed by Simple Coach, the first female player to be interviewed by Simple Coach, and then the first goalkeeper to be interviewed by Simple Coach. So I'm super excited to talk to Haley Eiser of Christopher Newport University. She's a D3 Soccer All-American, has all these accolades, and my own personal opinion, statistically and from what I watched, and I have no basis for comparisons, but she may be the best D3 goalkeeper of all time. And we'll talk a little bit about that throughout the interview. So kick back, enjoy, grab some coffee, your favorite cocktail, what have you, and here's my conversation with Haley Eiser. Thanks. Okay. Haley, hey, thanks for joining me today on All Things Division 3 Soccer. Really do appreciate you taking the time. Just so you know, you have 2 new records to add to your already impressive catalog of records. So aside from the saves and only the 5 goals in the season, and that silly little trophy at the end of your season, you have probably the highest honors that could be bestowed on you. You are the first player that I've gotten to interview on this channel. So you're a first there. You came in first, and then to boot, you're the first female soccer player, which I guess that wasn't as high of a bar because I only interviewed you. So there's no competition in that category that I've gotten to interview. So I'm really psyched for this. I mentioned that we're kindred spirits, that I'm a goalkeeper, former goalkeeper. I always think I'm a goalkeeper. But, this isn't about me. So maybe we could just start. You could sort of talk about how you ended up at Christopher Newport University.
First off, I had any other recruitment, like every other D3 soccer player. I was playing basketball at the same time in high school, and I had unfortunately tore my ACL in a basketball game, like my freshman, sophomore year. So it kind of knocked me out of a lot of the D1 recruitment process. So I was, not to say I was left with D3, but CNU, Roanoke College, and Washington and Lee were the top 3 choices, with ODU being in the running, but they said I was only their third choice and I would have to wait. Roanoke, I did consider. It was just a really small school. Washington and Lee, I would have to take the ACTs, and I had already taken the SAT 3 times, and I really wasn't looking forward to another test. But it was just, CNU just kind of called out to me. It was the same team environment I had grown up with my whole life, and I truly loved it. And I didn't see anything else I wanted differently from it. The girls were really welcoming, but still had their fun with it. But when we stepped on the field, it was serious. We weren't slacking off. So that was just really attractive. And then at the time, it was Dan. Jamie was only the assistant when I got recruited. and everything just seemed right. And it was just one day I was like, I want to go to CNU, and my parents were like, "Are you sure you want to go D3?" But it ended up being the best choice for me. So
how much time before you were able to fully compete before you got to CNU? If you tore your ACL.
I tore it back in June of 2014, and I
Uh-huh.
was out till December of that year. So I started playing back again, I think February
Right.
of 2015. So then I was healthy
Okay. So
for leading all the way up that. Yeah,
yeah.
so 2.5 years probably. But I
Okay.
didn't think I really started playing my best soccer until like a year after that.
Yeah. Usually that's something that it takes forever. Not so much to get healthy, it's just to the psychological aspect of it to be able to play. And so you've never played basketball since?
I finished through my senior year of high school.
Uh-huh.
I dropped travel basketball my junior year,
Yeah.
but I always loved it and wasn't I knew I didn't want to play it in college, but I wasn't ready to give it up in
Yeah.
high school. So
So you're obviously athletic. You've been going through. How'd you end up in goal?
that's actually kind of a funny story. I had switched clubs in Richmond when I was 10 or 11, and I've been the same height since then. And I tried out as a center back actually, and I did horrible at goalkeeper at tryouts because they just needed to see who could do it. But then the head of the organization saw me the very first day of practice, pulled me aside, goes, "All right, keeper training's at 6 tomorrow. Be there." And I was like, "Okay, okay."
That's that's awesome.
Yeah, he said
So you must.
he couldn't give up a 5'10", 11-year-old and not stick him in goal.
Yeah. That's great. Um, I'm going to jump around here a little bit, but all right. So you get recruited, you decide to go to Christopher Newport, and we'll circle back on some other questions along this line. But what what sort of expectations did you have going into your freshman year?
I thought my freshman year I would see some playing time. You know,
Mm,
it was gonna. I came in with a rising senior starter, so I was hoping to
mhm,
see a little bit of playing time
mhm.
and just kind of get my bearings on the field. Unfortunately, or I guess luckily, in a little bit of a sense, that was not the case, and I came onto the team as the fourth string goalkeeper.
Oh wow.
Even though I had passed my fitness test,
Mhm.
I've done everything right on paper, but it was just a big transition between high school and college that I wasn't quite ready for, and I didn't realize that. So it was
Mhm.
kind of a rough freshman year, sitting on the
Yeah,
bench being that fourth string keeper.
yeah. I
So
could definitely imagine. It's a long distance, right? Like you're sitting on the bench and you're like, I got to get through one, two, three other
yeah,
people before I even get a look. What just to sort of the basics, what was your major in college? What was your what'd you graduate with? Because you'd graduate.
I graduated with a BS in math, and I had a minor in leadership.
Wow. Okay. And could you just what are your plans for after school work wise?
Well, currently I work as a analyst at an asset management company, and I plan on being there for the next year or two, maybe three,
Mhm.
see how much I like it,
Yeah.
and then hopefully move into my own apartment because right now I'm still living with my dad to save money, but
Nice.
just for little things right now.
Yeah. Recommendation, stay with your dad. Just keep staying there. Save, pocket everything. Save. Do you plan to keep playing or going into coaching?
I do actually currently coach now. I
Oh,
coach the goalkeepers at FC Richmond. It's a club in Richmond.
yep.
So right now I am working my way into coaching. We'll see if it goes full time or whether
Mhm.
I take a whole team on rather than just doing the goalkeepers.
Right.
But so I do that once a week for now.
Hmm. Very cool. Very cool. Okay, so let's shift over to the season. And I started asking this because after I've done maybe 6 or 7 interviews, I realized like I never really thought about it. I always tell people what you see behind me is where I've been sitting for the last 5 or 6 years because I work from home. So
Hmm.
I've always been in here. So when COVID hit, to me it was like, yeah, nothing's changed because I'm still in the same. But it dawned on me talking to Dan Wagner at Franklin and Marshall that that was a pretty big deal when everything got shut down. And so I just started to ask, like, for you, from a player's perspective, how difficult was that COVID year? And were you even on campus?
I was on campus, but I mean, soccer looked totally different. Not
Yeah.
allowed in our locker rooms. We could only have 10 people at practice at a time. And even then, we're not allowed to have contact. And you had to be in your mask and everything. So for a long time, practices weren't as enjoyable. And we're just running and doing technical stuff. So it wasn't as fun as previous years of soccer. You missed the true joy of the game, and I think that really showed when we played Johns Hopkins in the scrimmage. I
Mhm.
mean, that was our loudest cheer we've had in years. We
Yeah.
were just so excited to be back at that field. But that COVID year was hard because we definitely started to lose a little bit of our team chemistry because we just couldn't get out there and do what we loved,
Yeah.
because we had to run our campus loop every Tuesday because we just didn't have anything else to do.
Yeah. That's got to be. Again, I totally oblivious to it, like
Mhm.
until I spoke to the coach. But um, I mean, do you think it made you a little bit more determined, or a little bit more as a team to take advantage of the fall when it came around?
I think it did. I think it really opened our eyes that any game could be our last game with that senior class. Well, I guess my senior class graduated with only 4 games in their senior season, and we played Salisbury twice within those 4 games.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of us really said, okay, every game, every time we step on this field, it's got to be our best effort. Even if I'm on the field or off the field, I'm giving 110% of what I got. Because we never knew if all of a sudden we had an outbreak on campus. We never knew when all of a sudden, hey, you can't play anymore because we got too many COVID cases. So
Yeah.
we just kind of stepped on the field and enjoy every little bit of it we could.
Did you? It was you and Riley Cook were the super seniors, correct?
Yes, yes,
Did you? Can I don't know if this gets anybody in trouble, but did both of you decide to stay because of the season, or
yes. Both of
is there?
us did.
Yeah. So you
We,
extended you're extended to take advantage of the waiver that you received as seniors,
yeah.
which is
Riley's,
perfectly
yeah,
fine, because I would go back now at my age. I would take advantage of a fifth year if I could.
yeah. Both of us just weren't ready to give up soccer yet, and Riley said first that she was going to stay for the 5th year, and I was considering it. So I called Riley. I said, "Hey, what pushed you over to make you stay for this 5th year? Because you're giving up your graduation, you're giving up
Right.
your friends, like a lot of your different aspects of college life." And she just goes, "I love soccer too much," and so I said, "All right, I'll come back too," and then joked with Jamie saying, "I'm only coming back for a national championship." So
That's awesome. That's great. I'm sure he would have signed on board if he knew that he could guarantee that, right? Like,
yeah.
um, all right. So you don't 2020 is a wash. The spring, whatever that spring was, and then you show up on campus. So what was your thinking going into the preseason of in the summer, or just before the fall, in terms of what you thought the team could do? I mean, was a national championship really the what you were rallying around, or did you just think, hey, we just want to play?
It was a little bit of both. I said I'm only coming back for a national championship as like a little bit of a joke because I'd only been to the Final Four the one time, and before and during that season I was nervous every game we came into. But this season I had a little doubts just because our whole back line was it was me and then Jill was the next person with the most experience, and she had only started I think anywhere between 7 and 10 games,
Yeah.
and then we had 3 rookies on the rest of the back line. So I was just a little nervous. I knew our offense could handle it. Riley and Sarah, I had no doubt in that power to
Monsters.
do it. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
monsters. It's
it
okay to
was.
say it. They're monsters.
But the defense, I was skeptical. I was just wondering how they could deal with playing in a position that requires so much pressure and not having the experience or someone to kind of cover for them, because I can cover them for so much, but at the same time, you don't want me covering for you. You want the
Yeah.
person beside you covering for you. But I mean, those girls just blew me away the first couple games. It was really center when, we went down one and no one freaked out. No one was saying, "Oh my gosh, we need to get this goal back." And it took us 20 minutes. We got the goal back, and then we went into overtime, and still no one was freaking out. "Oh my gosh, we're tied. Like this game might not go our way." And that's when I really started thinking, okay, this team's something special. We're not freaking out in moments where previous teams have.
Yeah. They lose the mental game of it, right? Like they start to lose in their head, and then lo and behold, that's what ends up happening. By the way, so when I watched National Championship, I didn't know any of you, right? I mean, I didn't know I knew your positions, but I didn't take a look at what, freshmen, how many games, all that stuff. That's not my gig. I just like to watch and make stupid comments about games. There was I could not tell that they were as young of a back line as they were until I actually interviewed your coach, and he said I basically started with 4 freshmen or 3 freshmen and somebody who'd never gone on the field up until 5 games ago or whatever the number of games was. And I was startled because I thought the best part of your game was the defensive, how you acted as a defensive unit, and that takes years to sort out. So
I know.
I mean, monsters in the back too. I mean,
I was very pleasantly surprised, and it was just fun to be back there because we could joke around. Like if someone missed a tackle, we knew the girl behind us had the save, so it was just kind of fun to joke around and be like, "Okay, you missed that tackle. Where'd you go wrong?" And no one would get mad at each other. Even if we were kind of testy at each other on the games of frustration, as soon as we came off the field, we sorted it out. We didn't let anything bother us, and I think it really reflected on the field as well.
Usually, right, like maturity is a big thing with teams, right? And so it just sounds like you were all a lot more mature, even though we were freshmen. So that's, like I said, it's probably one of the more interesting aspects of that final was just how good defensively you were. Did you think you would go undefeated? You could be honest.
I didn't think so because we had a tough schedule, and then with the scrimmages, because I think actually lost to Johns Hopkins, with the ranked opponents we had, and then Lynchburg's always just a battle. And then I didn't want to take anything for granted because that 2019 season we had the upset against Salisbury where we lost. Mary Wash upsetted us too, so I was coming into each game thinking we can't take anyone lightly. And then that Franklin and Marshall game in the NCAAs, I was the most nervous for the whole tournament because Riley and I joked about it, but we always seemed to have a problem with that second game, that we had a really hard time getting past that game. So her and I both agreed we were extremely nervous for that game, and everyone else seemed so relaxed. But Riley and I were like, "No, we gotta put this team away."
I had a question at one point, just sort of noticing that, right? Like up until this year, you got to the semifinals, in 19, but then every other time you stumbled in at least the quarter or the second round, whatever the second round was. And I was wondering if there was like a Sports Illustrated curse or something that was preventing you from winning, because I kept thinking, oh my gosh, you were right there the whole time. You just never got to the dance, right?
I always joked that there was a curse, but I don't think there really was a curse. It's just that second game is so difficult. You got momentum coming in from the win, and then especially when you're the team on paper that's supposed to win, I think that almost makes it a touch harder because you now have that target on your back.
And then with the emotional high, right? You're coming into the NCAAs, you're all pumped. You play the first game, you win, and then there's almost like, like you're physically, you're emotionally tired, and then you go into the second game, and if you're not mentally there and the ball doesn't bounce your way, you're gone, right? And that's that's the fun part to watch. All right, so listen, I don't know much about goalkeeping, but I mean, and I don't say this sort of thing lightly because I try to use words like best, when I mean it. So you have a 4-year career that could possibly make you the best Division III goalkeeper ever. I don't have stats to compare that, but when you go 22 games in a season, you only allow 5 goals, including in the postseason, which is, I mean, if I have only allowed 0.23 goals a game, I wouldn't be talking to you now because I'd be on TV and be like this stellar guy. And it's not like you did nothing because you had 67 saves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And justifiably, you were the D3 Soccer Goalkeeper of the Year. I think that you should have gotten higher accolades by the United Soccer coaches, the USC, whatever. But whatever, I'm not one of those. I mean, did that surprise you? Did those awards surprise you?
A little bit, because I really, coming into the season, wasn't expecting those types of stats.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know I was close to some of these records. I just wanted to step on the field and play some soccer. And then, especially my last couple years, I had some injury problems over summer, and coming into the season healthy was really difficult for me. So I just wanted to put on a good performance. And, my mantra through each game was, make the saves you can and some of the ones you don't. That's what my coach told me before most practices in the game. And then with the defense I had in front of me, I only had to make a few saves. So I knew if I don't make these saves, then these defenders are going to lose some trust in me. So I had to make the saves so they could keep on taking the risks they needed to keep us in the game.
So I have a theory, and which, if you watch some of my videos, I have a lot of theories. And they're theories because I'm not sure they're validated by anything other than they're just my theories. I was actually surprised. I'm going to say I am not surprised that you were goalkeeper of the year. I think that's totally justified. And having watched you in the final, and I watched like 3, 4, or 5 other games in the season, I can't remember. And it's not, like I said, it's not like you did nothing. But I think a lot of folks out there would have just sort of dismissed you because, well, your team won the national championship, and look at that defensive line, and right. And so, that's my theory, is that's how goalkeepers get selected. So they would have picked a lesser goalkeeper because they were more challenged. I don't know if that's right or not, but so when I saw that, I was like, that is totally justified, which is why I said the USC, I think, you should have gotten higher accolades there.
It's frustrating, but at the end of the day, it's the team first. So I was more than happy to not get the awards and get the national championship instead.
If you're going to sacrifice anything, it's all the awards, right? You just want that one. Right? That's awesome. You'll go down in history regardless. And like I said, I don't have stats to prove it, but I do think you could possibly quite be, I'll just say statistically, because you can't compare like a keeper from 10 years ago or 20 years ago, right? But you could go down as one of the best goalkeepers. I can't see anybody doing any better. But okay, let's move on, because now I'll start like whatever. We'll just leave it. And I'll start going down avenues that'll get me in trouble. You mentioned the center game, and I think that was the one game, that and Lynchburg, or was it Roanoke? Can't remember, that Coach Gunderson mentioned were like the turning points where he thought in his head, like, man, this is the year. Did you think at some point like this is the year?
I don't think I really had the feeling like this was the year until we hit NCAAs. It just really seemed like we hit our stride. Lynchburg was a really good sign for us, I think. I mean, we always struggled with that team, 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, tight scores like that. And then for us to pull out a score like 5-1, I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, this is a team to be reckoned with. And then once we got through the first weekend pretty unscathed, And then the second weekend, we were playing against teams that are bigger than us and more physical than us, which is teams we tend to struggle with because we were a smaller, more technical, quicker team. And then when we got through the first game of Trinity, I was thinking, all right, we can do this. These small players are not going to be
Yeah.
pushed around, like we're
Yeah.
taking we're making the most of our opportunities. So, Lynchburg was a really good sign, but I think I started feeling more confident when we hit the NCAAs.
Mhm. Did you feel like this year was a little bit of a vindication for the last, in your case, 3 years? Like, man, we finally did it, and holy smokes, it took us long enough, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been a great team, and then for us to keep on getting out in that first weekend, and then for us to always be ranked lower than I think some of these teams that we should have been higher, and then we finally make the run and we finally go all the way. It was 4 years of hard work finally realize, it was worth it.
Yeah.
All the sprints, all the extra stuff you do, it was just worth it. And then to finally put CNU on the higher stage, because nationally ranked really hard to do, but then for us to put us in the top 10 and then the number one spot, that was just a great feeling.
Yeah, yeah. Now, because of that history of making it to the semis and then, always falling short, I mean, when you finally made it to the finals, what was sort of the thinking on the team? What was your thinking? Like, was there a sense of like you were just happy to be there, or was it some teams like totally turn and become like we are not even smiling, right, until we actually
Yeah.
win the darn thing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, our team kept our same attitude like we had at any other game, but I think it was a little more focused at the fact that, hey, we're here. We got one game left. It's gonna be a shame if we lose our this very last game. So I think we all showed up saying, we got this far, we can't end on a low note. And then, my whole mantra during the game, like the postseason was, just one more game, just one more game. And then that last game, I was like, we just need a good game. We just need to play well and play our soccer, and we've got this.
Yeah. I thought you guys were. I was so impressed. Like it was, I mean, and not to mention the speed that you have to just sort of come out with once you win the ball, you're just gone.
Hmm.
Um, it did seem like it was inevitable to face college in New Jersey, right? I mean, they got a history, 3 national championships. They've
Hmm.
made the NCAAs like 30 times in a row. Um, I mean, was there a sense of like, oh my gosh, this is like you're going up against, I don't want to, that's not the right word, but royalty, right? I mean, they're the Division 3 model, right? Every Division
Uh-huh.
3 team, women's team would do anything to be like TC&J. Did you ever have this sense of awe? That's a good word. Sense of awe playing them, or was it just like, nope, another game?
I feel like if it was any other year, but this past year, I would have. But I mean, the whole team kept tabs on TC&J the whole
Hmm.
season. We saw what they were doing, and we knew we are going to have to face these girls sooner or later,
Hmm.
whether we got it earlier in the NCAAs or the championship game. We knew what we had to do. And then I think that was one good thing that Jamie really instilled in us for each game, that we don't need to change our style of soccer too much, that we just need to do a couple tweaks here and there, but for the most part, we're playing CNU soccer, and CNU
Right.
soccer will win us the game.
Yeah. It's a good lesson. How important Sarah Smith, her goal in the 18th minute, like how big of a deal was that for you?
Oh gosh, it was huge. I mean, for one, it was a corner kick goal, and the aerial stuff was not our strong suit. So
Yeah.
for us just to score on the corner, I was, oh my gosh, this has got to be a great sign. Like, we're going somewhere at this game. Uh, but I knew once we got that first goal, it's hard to come back on us, especially with our defense. And our saying was, we'll let you score one goal, but we won't let you score two. And
Hmm.
I just knew once we got that first one, everyone was going to make that final effort to make sure that ball did not go in our back of our neck. So once that first one was in, I was just kind of like, all right, we got this. We got one early, and it's very hard to score on us. So
Yeah, yeah.
I was real confident coming into there.
And it was interesting on that goal, the corner, you had one right before there, the same corner that they ended up clearing out that you could have scored on because it was basically a 50-50 ball that got cleared out. But I thought you could have had that goal there too, and I'm surprised that they didn't do anything to sort of shore up their defense for that next corner. But what was the mood, or what was the attitude of the team going into halftime up one?
I mean, we were stoked. I think a lot of us expected a 0-0 game through most of the game, or at least a tied game. But to be up at half, all of us were just, oh, it's just don't stop now. We're playing great soccer right now. We just need to keep this momentum and not focus too much on the clock. And then our whole postseason saying was for that second half, you divide it up into thirds. You win the first 15, you win the second 15, and you win the third 15. So you take each little bit, so you take the waves of momentum each time. So I think a lot of us just kind of did, all right, play 15 minutes really hard. If you need a sub, we'll get someone else in for those 15. But, everyone puts everything else out on the field.
And then when Riley buries the PK, you must have been like, this is over.
Yeah, I knew we had the championship because no one has scored 2 goals on us. Even if I let one in, at that point, I really did not want to let one in just to put the statement on it. But I could have cried right then and there when that ball went in.
And so I have to ask, when the whistle blew, was it just pure pandemonium for you?
I mean, it started hitting me like 5 minutes beforehand. I was tearing up, a little bit. It was a little bittersweet because, we won this, but at the same time, I had the experience of, hey, this is your last game. You're not playing anymore at this level.
Yeah.
But the excitement just took over, and just, I wanted to run to the nearest teammate, but of course, everyone's at the other end of the field. So.
That's great. Oh, it was special. I'll tell you, what a game. I mean, it was, what the best part about it too is, like, you won. And I'm not taking away anything from TCNJ, but you won that game, and you did win it in a way that was like, there was no doubt, right? Like, if you would have held on dear life, and TCNJ would have thought, oh, we should have won that one. No, there was no doubt, at least in my mind watching, there was no doubt that you guys were deserving winners. I want to circle back to, and it's something you mentioned earlier about coming into your freshman year, and how there was, in a lot of respects, you didn't think you were ready, and that you were the number 4 out of 4. What was it about the college game that you weren't ready, that you think you weren't ready for?
My main thing was the speed and quickness of it. Coming in, I thought I was ready because I had played in the Pro 23 leagues around here in Virginia. I was playing with other collegiate players. I thought I was ready. I did everything the fitness packet said too. But, you step on that field with your team, and it's just a whole different ball game, and I'm a taller keeper, so I have to really focus on that and work on that too. And I wasn't ready for the level that I thought I knew was there.
Yeah, it is a different, I think it's just a speed, to your point, it's just things move so much quicker that it's not that you're not ready for it, but you're physically not accustomed to having to move to react to things that fast. And because I actually I came into my freshman year and was starting and started, and that was the hardest adjustment. Like, you couldn't, like, the ball would go by me, and I'd be like, I'm not even set yet.
Yeah.
It's like, what just happened?
Yeah.
But you end up learning quick. If you could go into almost like a time capsule, if you could give yourself some advice your senior year in high school to prepare for your journey at Christopher Newport, what would it be?
I mean, I think I did need that year sitting out to really focus in on what I love about the game. But if I did have to change something, is your fitness packet puts you at like a C grade of fitness. You gotta get to that A, so you gotta go above and beyond on it.
How psyched were you when you thought, I got this? Look, I did this fitness package. I got it all done.
Yeah.
You must have been like, I'm so in, like Flynn, right?
I know. I texted my parents saying, "Oh, I passed it on the first try." Like, I can relax now. and then to now as a senior, I look back at it and say, why did I ever think that was good enough?
Yeah.
But yeah, so just take the fitness test or the standard of it. That's a C,
Yeah.
you'll
And
pass the
double
class
it.
with it. You'll pass the class with it, but
Yeah.
you're not excelling in it, and you
Yeah.
always want to excel in it.
Yeah. What sort of training have you done, or did you do, or will you continue doing if you keep playing in the off season? Right, especially goalkeepers is a lot harder, right? Because it's not about dribbling between cones, and it's a lot more
Mhm.
specialized. So, was there anything in specific that you were doing as a goalkeeper, or were you just training as a regular field player during the normal springs? I won't
Yeah.
talk about COVID spring, but the normal springs.
The first couple years I did train as a normal field player, but then that's when I really started to pick up the injuries because I was just doing too much. So the last couple of seasons,
Interesting.
I switched it to more of a goalkeeper specific. So,
Hmm.
speed ladders every day. If it's a 40-yard sprint, change it to 20 and just do more of it. Just
Yeah.
lighter types of sprints, a lot of, one-legged jumping and plyometrics, make sure you're landing stable and everything. Little stuff like that where if you're training with a regular field player, they might think that's not a lot of work,
Hmm.
but it comes in handy. And it just I saw leaps and bounds and progress in my game with
Really.
all that little work and acceleration. I was so much quicker on my feet, lighter on my feet, just by working on like jumping and landing, the
Yeah.
speed work, and then just the shorter sprints that really helped me just not coming in overworked rather
Right.
than doing all the jumps and ladder work with the regular field player packet.
Haley, what made you switch? Like, did somebody tell you, hey, we're going to change it up for you? Or was it just you more realizing I can't keep doing 40, 50, 100-yard sprints if I'm going to have to make a save?
It was probably more of my coach saying you need
Hmm.
to shorten it up, but then it was also a little bit of I can't keep on getting hurt every June
Yeah.
because we play in August, and
Yeah.
I pushed off 2 knee surgeries within my 4 years. I couldn't keep doing this. Like
Yeah.
eventually, this knee was going to give out.
Yeah.
So it was just we needed to be healthy, and
Yeah.
so we had to shorten it up a little bit.
Mm. No, that makes sense. So, is there someone on staff that acted as a goalkeeper coach, or is a goalkeeper coach?
Yes, the assistant Sean,
Hmm.
he works with the goalkeepers, and then I mean a lot of our assistants helped out. Over my 4 years, I had 4 different people help out with the goalkeepers, but they all stuck around for a long time, even though they weren't officially on the team.
Right.
And I even had the men's coach help me out a couple years.
Uh-huh.
It was just, well, yeah, Sean helped us out with most of it. I mean, it was a whole group effort to
Yeah.
help out the goalkeepers.
Yeah. Let me ask you something, because this is another theory of mine. How important do you think it was to have somebody guiding you as a goalkeeper and coaching you as a goalkeeper versus, I'll just say, not that you had, but that you wouldn't that some don't have? Because I
I
think it's
think, yeah.
tremendously. I think it's like a difference maker, if you ask me. But
Yeah, I think it's extremely important because, nothing against just the solo head coach, but you got to do what's going to be the best for the team. And a lot of times that means your goalkeeper is standing still for
yeah,
probably 50 to 60% of that practice.
yeah,
But then you're not working on the technique, the form, and you can't make those little steps that, because goalkeeping is a game of inches, and you need to work on those little inches, and that takes a lot of individualized attention. So you just kind of you need a goalkeeper coach to really point that out. I mean, we even started bringing out cameras to look at our training sessions to look what little inches we needed to do and stuff like that. So I think it's extremely important.
yeah. You just gave me goosebumps, by the way, when you said it was a game of inches, because it's true. Like, and
Hmm.
I don't think unless you've been in goal, you get that, right? Because you see, ball gets by you, and what do you know? Oh, it just flicked my glove.
Yeah.
If I had gotten another inch, I could have parried it across around the bar or around the post. Um, all right, so last question I have for you, or maybe not the last one, but this, like, if for high school players that are looking, that this might be a two part question. All right, let's start with what sort of advice would you give to the high school players going, I'll just say, at Division 3 soccer?
The main thing is don't treat D3 like they're not as good as D1. These programs are just the same love and intensity for the game as any D1. We just might not have the funding or the equipment like these schools do, but these girls are serious and they want to win games. You can't just say, "Oh, it's D3. I don't have to try as hard. I don't have to train as hard." It's not true. I mean, these girls want to win and they will call you out on you not trying. And at least, at least seeing you did, that was also a wake-up call my freshman year, is to actually have teammates call me out on
Yeah.
stuff that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So just, the main differences I see between the divisions, it's funding. But
Yeah.
talent-wise and intensity and love for the game, it's the same across the board.
That's why I started doing this, or sort of got sucked back into it, because especially in the last years, it's become pretty noticeable that that's the level, the intensity, the amount of commitment, all of those things that you think are Division 1, it's all the way Division 3 is included. Some of these programs are I'm sure you're as serious as any Division 1 program out there. Just, and operates within the rules and expectations, all that sort of stuff. All the coaches I talk to, it's very clear to me that you don't go, oh, you get to chill out in the spring. No, they all make demands on their student athletes to continue to work, whether it's with the coach supervision or not. All right, so now this might be a little bit more personal, but what advice would you give to those seniors that are about to join your program? So Christopher Newport, 2021 national champions. What would you tell them? Because I gotta believe it's something a little different.
I would just tell them, control what you can control. Don't think about, hey, there's someone in my spot. She's been a 3-year starter. It does carry some weight to it, but at the end of the day, we're going to put the best players on those fields. And by controlling what you can control, fitness, attitude, your willingness to work hard, those go leaps and bounds with Jamie and with the program and with the girls themselves. So you just put the work in, and because I'm not satisfied enough with just seeing you only win one national championship, like I want it to be like a soccer dynasty like TCNJ is.
Yeah.
So, it's gonna hurt me not being on that field, but I really want to see this program succeed and continue to succeed and just put out national championship after national championship.
Yeah. It's true. Like you get to the side you're on now, right? Like all that time, I still do with where I went to school. All that time, the 4 years you put in, 4.5 years, you want to see it go. Like you don't want it to become less of what you did. You put in too much work for somebody to come in and disrespect all that work you did, right? I'm in the same boat as you, so although I'm not a CNU grad. I'm an honorary. Honorary grad, I guess. I got the hat.
Yeah.
Haley, look, this was absolutely fantastic. Like, I really do appreciate. Like I said, you're a double first. So I think I'll get you like a trophy of some sort. Maybe like, I don't know, like a Rice Krispie treat. Like I'll send you a Rice Krispie treat because it was really cool. It was really cool talking to you. I really do appreciate. I do appreciate you taking the time.